Hey, I'm Andrika, and welcome to Tea Time.
Welcome to Tea Time, baby. And then my mom, who's Andrika, I'm her oldest son. She's a cool lady. She's an author of a great book that you should probably read. I'd give it a chance. I got the hard copy because I'm cool like that, but you know. So I was asked to share, I guess be a witness to the testimony of my uncle. So there's 5 of us in the house. Bunch of dudes. We're, just kicking it. In the house, people were getting sick. This is around COVID time. So it was like one by one, roommates were getting sick. And then I got sick. And then Ricky got sick with COVID. When Ricky got sick, it was like a lot worse than everybody else had it. I had it, and it just felt like a cold. When Ricky had it, it was, you could definitely tell he was not feeling great. We ended up having to really convince him to go to the hospital because that's just not his vibe. He doesn't do hospitals, I guess. And so we convinced him to go to the hospital. We took him there, and it was rough. He was in there for a while. He lost so much weight. While he was in there, for me, it was just like, he's gonna get out of that. Like, it's gonna be fine. So that was the starting point of everything else that happens next. So on my birthday, and Ricky came over to me, and he stood by the door. He was, just a little out of it, and he's like, "Hey, can you take me to the hospital?" And that's not normal for him. And so I was like, "Yeah, just hop in the car. We'll go right now." So we went to the hospital. My roommates wanted to take me out to dinner for my birthday. We were going to go to Hibachi Grill because I love Japanese food and that kind of stuff. But I was at the hospital. We were there for a little while before he was actually getting seen. And by the time he got back there, they'd put him in a hospital bed in a room. So we were in the room, and he was like, "Isn't it time for you to go?" And I was like, "I know it's for me, but it doesn't matter. I'd rather be here with you in the hospital, because if I was in the hospital, I wouldn't want to be by myself, to be honest with you. Who wants to be by themselves in a hospital?" And then Ricky tells me, "No, you need to go. It's your birth. You need to go." And I was really torn up by the whole thing, because I wanted to stay there because I knew he wasn't feeling good. So I went to eat and hang out with everyone. And then real early the next morning, I think it was definitely the next day that I found out that his heart stopped, and he was clinically dead for a little while. He was in a medically induced coma. Him being the only blood family member in with me that was actually physically here, and then finding out that he had died and now he's in some coma, really screwed me up for a little bit. I was really in this what am I gonna do? What happens? But then you remember, and you keep your faith, and who God is, and you remember that He's in control of the whole entire situation. And then I'd called my folks. Of course, my grandparents knew because that's who's Ricky's contacts. So they told my parents, and then I got a call. I had to go to the hospital, And seeing him like that was just not, it wasn't for me. That's just not something I can like deal with and handle too well. But um, I was there and I prayed for him. Uh, I got home and just emptied my head and just gave it all to the Lord. I worshiped and was reminded of his word, you will live and not die. So with him dying and then coming back, part one, it still held true. I was at work one day, this is a couple weeks later. He was in the hospital for a really long time, it felt like. But I was leaving work, just got off of work. I was headed home, and I get a phone call from my dad while I was on the highway, and he says that they got a call from Doc, and Doc was saying that this is it. He's done. Like, there's no way Rickey's going to survive. So when when you hear something like that, it was rough. Like, the whole tears and all that. I had to pull over. I was like, okay, thank you for letting me know. I remember getting home and just not wanting to talk to anybody. I didn't want to hear anybody's voice. I just wanted to leave me alone. Let me think about this for a minute. Because being the only blood relative that was with Rickey at the time was a little rough, because every single family member wanted to call me, every single one of his friends, and Rickey has a lot of friends everywhere. Facebook Messenger, phone calls, text messages, emails, and I was just like, I'm not equipped. Like, I'm not equipped for this. But my roommates and all of them, I mean, they helped me out a little bit. We got to praying, and that night we all gathered and prayed. I believe Michael Bell was there at the hospital, because they've been asking me if it was okay if they went, and it was like, yeah, y'all are Rickey's closest friends. Yeah, go ahead, go. So Michael Bell was there. We got on the phone, and he was saying Rickey's in a coma, but Doc was saying that he can hear everyone. So everyone kind of prophesied over him and declared life, and just gave him some sweet words. So I called out of work. I went over to the hospital, and Michael Bell was there, and it took some, it really took grace and the Lord to get the front desk people to allow me to go back there. It was one person at a time to visit, but they allowed me to go back there with Michael Bell. And I remember telling him, Hashem Eloheinu, Hashem Echad, which is part of the Shema prayer. And with him being unresponsive, but able to hear us, he smiled and kind of like gave a little chuckle. And me and Michael Bell were like, whoa, okay. So that was cool. That kind of gave me a little relief that he understood what I was saying to him. And he still knew the Lord was good. A couple days later, he starts getting better. He starts to wake up from this coma, and Michael Bell's like giving us all this like info. Like, it's crazy. Like, he's just waking up. And so I was starting to get this overwhelming joy, because I didn't want my uncle to die, but I knew that if he did, it was the Lord's doing, because the Lord told him, you will live and not die. And if it was his time, then it was his time to go. So I had come to peace with that. But seeing him just like in the worst like way possible, to see a family member was devastating. And then having to be the information giver on top of talking to nurses and doctors, um, like assisted living places, and like, because I'm 26, so that was nothing I thought I would have to do, right? But then he starts to get better and better, and I remember him. He was still in and out of it, but he was sleeping, and one of the nurses came, and he goes, "Are you related to him?" I said, "Yeah, I'm his nephew." And the nurse says, "Oh, well, I'd just like to stop by this room." He said, "This room is just there's so much peace in this room." I was like, "Oh, really?" Like, yeah, of course there is. The amount of people that were praying for Ricky, and then us praying for Ricky, and then worship, and like the Spirit of the Lord was in there. The Shalom was in there. The whole thing. And he's like, yeah, like several nurses are like, every time they pass by this room, they just feel relief and like peace. He said, "We heard y'all praying and, playing worship music, and it was just so good." And he's like, "I'm a believer too. And man, I love seeing believers." And he's like, I was definitely right in agreement and just, praying for him too. And I was like, dang, like even dying Ricky can make friends. You will live and not die. That word is just definitely the truth for my uncle. And man, I love that guy. He's a lot sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But he's a good dude. But yeah, we'll give it back to whoever this is going to.
So that was Richie, my firstborn. I thought it would be beneficial for you to hear his testimony from his point of view about what happened and about how he felt and all of that, because every situation has so many different perspectives, and God can be glorified from all of them. When someone has a resurrection testimony, it means that somebody else is going to have a testimony about their loved one dying. Another person may have a testimony about seeing that somebody is a witness even in death. And somebody can have a testimony about being pushed further than they ever thought they could be pushed and having to rely on God to get through it. No matter what, you can find a way to glorify God from any perspective in any situation. So make sure you share this video with somebody. And thanks for joining me for tea time today. I'll see you next time with another one.